Welcome back to CES 2020. You're watching CNET's live coverage, and we're here to talk smart home tech at this year's show. I'm Andrew Gebhardt, and with me from our smart home team is Rich Brown, Molly Price, and David Priest. Thanks all for being here.
Yeah. Lots to talk about.
We're excited.
So let's talk smart home, starting with the August Wi-Fi smart lock. Molly, you were the one who wrote about the smart lock, and we're pretty excited about this.
Yeah, you know, it's been a while since August has given us a new lock, and this one is 45% smaller than the ones that came before it, so they've really compacted that nice circular design that goes on the inside of your door. You can see in there at that video, they have it in black and silver, and the cool thing about it is Wi-Fi is built in, so you won't have to buy that August Connect module anymore to get your remote access or integrate it with your smart home platform.
Okay, so that's cool, and this has been one of our favorites, obviously, of CES. Rich, why does it stand out so much?
Yeah, you know, I mean, August has had a really polished smart lock pretty much since its inception, right? They've been really great about working with all the various voice assistants. They give you pretty much unlimited digital keys that you can give out to people, where a lot of their competitors will charge you, right? So they've just really come up with a very customer-friendly software experience, and shrinking the thing on the door, building in Wi-Fi, it just makes it kind of a no-brainer on the smart lock side for me. It's a little bit expensive. It's $250, so you know you have to be really committed to the lock to buy in. But I'm a fan.
But that Wi-Fi bridge, that's the really big deal, right? Because let's focus on that a little bit more. What was it previously? You had to have a separate dongle?
Yeah, so previously, and they would sell it in a package, so you could buy it in a bit more expensive than just the lock. You could get the module with it, and then you could do all that smart home connecting and remote access, and if you didn't have that, you were sort of limited to just Bluetooth and when you were near the lock. So to have that built in where you don't have to buy a separate thing, you don't have to fill up an outlet in your house, you don't have to pair things together, it's much simpler, and it's a great option for people that don't want to replace their entire deadbolt because it is retrofit.
And so Wi-Fi in the smart lock is still pretty unique, right, Rich?
It is. You know, there are a few of them out there. I think we haven't had that historically just because it tends to be a big power drain, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody wants to swap batteries in and out of their smart lock every 3 months or so. I'm not sure what August is promising in terms of battery life for this one. That's one thing we'll have to test out. But I've got a feeling 6 months is maybe not out of the question. Okay. So I think most people can probably live with that.
Yeah, I think you can expect probably 6 months to a year, I think is sort of what they told me. They've changed this one, though. All the old models had 4 AA's. This one has 2 CR123s, so a little bit of a different battery, 2 less, but kind of a more specialized battery. So I don't have CR123s in a drawer in my kitchen, but
you wrote about another smart lock as well, right?
I did, yeah. So there was another cool one we saw at the show that actually you can't even tell that you would have a smart lock installed. So you would take off the front and the back of your existing regular old deadbolt, and then you would replace the deadbolt in the middle in that hole in your door, put your outside stuff back on, and you would have a smart lock that works with HomeKit, there's an app, and nobody would know from the outside that you have a smart door.
So this is called the level lock,
yes,
right?
Yes, level lock.
Okay, so Dave, which one would you want on your door?
I mean, personally, I love the idea of the level lock. I mean, it's nice to have that retrofit design of the August lock, but you know, depending on the style of your house, you don't really want that smart eyesore there if you have like a Victorian townhouse, right? So the level lock is great because it just disappears inside your door. You get to maintain the aesthetic that you have in your house, and also you don't get to, you know, you don't have to broadcast to the world that you have a smart lock on your front door. It just slips right in there and kind of accomplishes the same thing. Just from the idea standpoint, I really, really like that idea. Now, in terms of how it actually stands up when we get to test it, you know, that's always the question that we have to answer when we get it in our house.
Yeah.
Okay, so but here's my issue, right? If the battery is inside the deadbolt itself and you're replacing the front and back, isn't that going to be a big pain in the butt to change the battery?
I don't think it's as hard as it looks. It's really, smart locks are not as intimidating as they seem, and I think most people could probably do it in 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, but my laziness might take over there. Is
laziness
all
might be
I'm
different.
really worried about.
Like in most of the, generally speaking, with smart locks, you really got to want it. It's not an impulse purchase.
Okay, so you have to pick one, Rich. August, level.
I'm a fan of August. They work really well.
And the previous August lock was our editor's choice winner, right?
Yes.
So expectations are really high for this next one, and we're seeing a lot of smart locks here at CES, so hopefully one of these stands out and takes the category to the next level.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're seeing at CES this year is recognition. And what I mean by that is that large appliances, cameras that are getting better at recognizing objects, even better at recognizing people, that could make smart large appliances really take off. Like, we've struggled to see one that had a really compelling case, but now at this CES we saw the LG washer with AI. Rich, what's the deal with the LG washer?
Right, so the promise of the LG washer is that through a set of sensors built into the washing machine, it can detect not only the weight of clothing, the weight of the load that you put in, but also the fabric that it's made up from. So then it will automatically recommend a washing cycle for you, taking some of that guesswork out. I mean, not that I spend a ton of time guessing, right? Most of the time I put stuff in there, hit the normal load, the normal cycle, and go with it. But I think the promise of tailoring a wash cycle to your clothing, maybe you won't have so much wear and tear. Particularly if it's easy and automatic, which is what LG is kind of promising here, I think that's really appealing.
That sounds cool, especially for a guy like me who's particularly fastidious with sorting my clothes.
No doubt.
But if I'm going to throw everything in, it's nice to know that the washer will actually take care of it. Molly, is this a feature you would use?
Yeah, I thought this was really cool when Megan Woolerton and I were talking about it. As you know, she covers most of our laundry stuff, and I asked her, I said, well, okay, but I throw in like 5 t-shirts and 3 pairs of jeans. It's not like all cotton or all denim or all polyester. It's a mix of stuff. I said, can the washer really tell what type of stuff is in there? And it can. So it can differentiate between, this is like half cotton, half whatever. And I think that's smart. It's a really interesting concept that I haven't seen before.
Okay, but one of the barriers of smart large appliances is smarts are advancing all the time, and you have to invest a lot to get access to these smarts. Dave, is this something that you would be willing to do?
I mean, large appliances, I think, roll out in a different way from something like an August smart lock. An August smart lock, it's a couple $100. People may be thinking about improving the security in their home, and so they buy this thing. Large appliances, you get it and you expect to have it for a fair amount of time, right? You move into a house, you think about getting a new washer and dryer. I just got a new washer and dryer maybe 6 or 7 months ago, and if this had been a feature that I had access to, I would have seriously considered it. So I think that you're not looking at people who are wanting to necessarily buy into this new product line, as soon as it comes out. It's when they reach that point where they have to buy a new product, then they see the non-smart option and they see the smart option, and they choose the smart option. And in this case, it's something, if you get this, you don't even have to think about it. You just throw in your clothes and it does the work for you. And I think that's a really smart way to think about large appliances.
And you saw, speaking of large appliances that are smart, you saw another one that can actually recognize your food called the Bosh Home Connect refrigerator, right?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Bosch has a number of refrigerators at this point in the last couple of months that have been coming out with built-in cameras. And you can actually see them there. There's one inside the door and there's one inside the body of the fridge itself. And what those cameras do is they recognize the food. They properly identify the food in your fridge. They keep track of it. And then they basically are able to suggest recipes based on what you have access to in your fridge. It's a really cool kind of useful tool. Now, this has been around for a little while, this kind of technology. LG has done it some, Samsung has done it some, the June oven, some other things like that. But this was one of the first times that I've seen it implemented in a way where I could actually see myself using it. Leaving at the end of the day, ready for my commute home, looking for recipes on my phone and really only seeing recipes that are that are available to me based on the food that's in my fridge. I think it's a really good practical idea there.
Yeah, I got to see it in action a little bit myself, and it was pretty cool. I'm not much of a cook, but I'd like to think that if I had this, maybe I would at least be able to try. It even communicated with the oven and started the oven preheating. I'd really wonder what recipes it could recommend for my fridge that has beer and hot sauce in it, but it seemed to be pretty cool. Rich, is this something that would make you actually want to invest in a smart kitchen?
I mean, no, it's not yet. I mean, I think it's sort of the first step, right? I mean, to me, the smart kitchen has to be seamless to really work, right? It's got to kind of close that whole loop from shopping to cooking to inventory tracking to making recipe recommendations. I mean, Samsung has similar technology. Other companies have been working on this. You go to the demos and you see it's starting to get there finally, like doing some of this core object recognition and then taking that and like recommending recipes. So we're moving forward in sort of a maybe positive looking way, but this is not a seamless experience yet, at least in my experience.
It was getting close. It talked to the oven. It was like, hey, heat the oven to 400 degrees or I don't know, however much you heat an oven to. And then, so that is the sort of thing that could even make me, it was getting close, I think.
It was.
We're
cool,
on the path. We're on the path.
Yeah, it is cool, and it's cool to be getting closer to it. It's also important to recognize the limitations. I mean, even the model fridge that they had set up, you could see, they had it set up in a way that most of our fridges, at least my fridge, does not look. You don't have clear access to every food item. Sometimes our fridge is just packed full of stuff, and if you had one item behind another, it wouldn't properly recognize them. So there are definitely limitations to this technology.
It's not foolproof, right? It's still relying on that vision, and I wonder how it would react to like keeping the thing in the bag. If you don't like unpack everything properly, is it still going to work? So that's something that we hopefully we'll get to test soon, and hopefully it comes to fruition. But it wasn't the only food recognition thing that we saw here at CES. Molly, GE had the next generation kitchen hub that they were showing off.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So last year we saw the first gen kitchen hub. It's a vent with lights, a hood vent that goes over your range with lights, and there's basically a giant 27-inch Android tablet on the front of it. And it had a camera on the front for like video chatting, and there was a camera underneath for looking at your stovetop if you wanted to, blog or stream your spaghetti noodles or whatever. Well, this year they added a microwave, which I thought was smart because when we reviewed the first one, everyone in our office was like, okay, but is it a microwave? Because we're all used to having that microwave over our range, and this year it is. So that front door hinges open, and there's a 1,000-watt microwave inside there. The tablet on the front kind of stays the same. Yummly integration with food recognition did get a little bit better this year. You got to test that out yesterday.
Yeah, I got to see it in action, and it was cool because the camera that's under it and was looking down at the stovetop actually recognized that the meat wasn't done by the image of the meat. And then we swapped in a little different plastic piece of meat, and all of a sudden it recognized it was done. So that's cool. Again, could actually help a guy like me cook, which I could use the help. This would be nice. But it's not an actual full-on. So when I think smart display, I think Google Nest Hub.
Right.
Is it like that?
It's not a smart display. It really is an Android tablet. So it comes with all the tablet stuff you're used to, like Google Play and Netflix and every other app you could get on, a handheld Android.
Okay, so Rich, would you prefer, let's say you have this thing, and let's say it's this 27-inch screen here. Would you prefer to have that Google Nest software that is meant entirely for voice interaction, or would you like that full Android tablet experience?
We have a Nest Hub in my house, and we've tried using it for cooking. Overall, I think Google has done some really good work moving sort of voice forward in terms of helping people navigating a recipe. But it hasn't been a total home run, at least in my home. But then you set up the GE Kitchen Hub, and it sounds a little crazy, right? Like, I'm going to put this 27-inch screen over my oven. Like, I don't know that you would get a lot of people buying into that on paper. But you stand in front of it, and you kind of get it. And then you get into Android, and you're like, okay, wait, I can put Netflix on here. I can pull up a recipe. Like, I can kind of do whatever I want, right? So it's perhaps not as ambitious in terms of its intelligence and its interaction with the user, but I really kind of like the GE Kitchen Hub, I have to admit.
Okay, I don't know if I'm super sold yet, because I really like the Google Nest Hub, but this wasn't the only smart display that we saw at CES. Dave, you saw one on a piece of wood called MUI?
That's right, yeah. And this is maybe not one of the most practical devices, but I thought it was one of the most interesting devices. And it was something from a company called MUI Labs. It was called the MUI panel. And you can see here, it's actually a real piece of wood that has an inlaid LED display on it. It's a really fascinating idea. It's coming out in the next month or so, and it's kind of expensive. It's $550. I don't see myself. Okay, it's very expensive. I don't see myself buying this, if I'm honest. But what this represents in terms of the marriage of nature and technology, of function and beauty, I think is really, really fascinating. And I'd love to see more smart home developers move this direction. Yeah, I just think it's really exciting. And you can kind of see here, even the way that you set a timer is by drawing a line on it.
I was going to say, what are you doing there? Yeah.
So there are these kind of like creative ways that they actually get you interfacing with this panel of real wood in just a way that kind of draws you in. It's more embodied. It's interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so other than being interesting, like what can you use it for?
Where would you put that?
Well, you can use it for a number of reasons. You can use it to set timers. You can use it to send messages. It connects to Wi-Fi, so you can again, check. It can send you notifications of various kinds. There's also some kind of wellness aspects to it. It can help you with breathing exercises, for instance, or different things like that.
It can show you the weather, right, and the time, the kind of basic sort of informational stuff.
So it covers some of that stuff. No, it's not the same thing as an Echo Show, or a Google Hub. But it's doing a lot of those it's offering a lot of that good, useful material in a really aesthetically pleasing way.
Molly, $550 though. Is that something you'd buy in?
No. 550 is way too many.
Yeah.
Okay, but you liked sort of the direction this was indicating as far as like smart home aesthetics, the smart home becoming more visually pleasing. Well,
and I think that's an interesting. I think it speaks to where smart home technology has gone in the last few years and where it's going in the next few years. 3 or 4 years ago, when we came to CES, all of this smart home tech seemed so, just so futuristic. But now, a lot of us have Amazon Echo in our house. We have smart displays on our countertops. A lot of this stuff is becoming more mundane. The question is, how do we take those smarts and make them, actually serve us in more holistic ways? How do we make them fit into the decor of our home? How do we make them really serve our real, day-to-day needs? And I think that the fridges that we've talked about, possibly could do that. I think that having a display above your range could possibly do that. Having a lock that just fits into an existing doorknob could do that.
Let's say you've got to pick one. From all of our products that we've seen, you've got to pick one, and let's say they're all real and they're all working as we intend. Price aside, which one would you pick, Rich?
I think I'm going Kitchen Hub. I got to be honest.
Oh,
Kitchen Hub, Molly?
I think I'm going with that hidden lock.
You're going with the level lock?
I really like that idea.
All right, Dave?
I love cooking, so I would probably go with the Kitchen Hub. I could see myself using that.
It is really fun.
I'm going that Bosch fridge. I want help in the kitchen. It'd be really useful for me.